Welcome back to OT Sports. Today we got our Week 8 Top 25 College Football Rankings. I'm very excited for this week. We got a lot of stories to talk about, teams, how they did this week. I just wanted to say, if you're new around here, subscribe to the channel and like this video if you enjoy it. We do the college football every Monday night, NFL picks every Wednesday night. Now it will be Tuesday night this week. So tomorrow night. And then usually an MLB video sometime over the weekend, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. Now the playoffs have started, so I haven't made one since my playoff predictions. Let me know if you guys want me to. Maybe I'll do like a World Series preview since the ALCS and NLCS already started. And then obviously NBA, we do that, and then college basketball. Those are just around the corner. Basketball season's coming up. I'm very excited about that. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Hit the notification bell. Make sure you don't miss an upload. But yeah, let's just hop right into the top 25. I think that's enough talking. Number 25, we got Tulane back in the top 25. One of two group of five teams that I've put in the top 25 this week. I feel like Tulane deserves to be here. They're 5-1. They haven't lost any stupid games. They're only lost to Ole Miss week 2 without their starting quarterback. And they looked alright in that game. I mean, if they had their starting quarterback, I think they would have won. Now the final score wouldn't tell you the whole story of that game. It was a pretty close game for a while. They picked up a good win against Memphis last week, and this week home against North Texas. I don't see them struggling. I think they should be able to take care of North Texas pretty easily. They're at home. I don't know. I don't think there's really anything to worry about it. Looking at the American standings, I really haven't seen this yet. So, yeah, Tulane and SMU. Those are kind of the two only good teams in this conference, in my opinion. Um, yeah, I really don't see anyone else in here that's really anything too special. So, yeah, Tulane should be able to win out. I don't know if they play SMU in the regular season. I can check that really quick. But no, they do not. So they should be able to win out and possibly make a New Year's Six bowl. Now we'll talk about their other contender for that. If they win out and beat SMU, they'll definitely have a chance. But there's another team that could steal the Group of Five New Year's Six bowl. We'll talk about them in a little bit here. But yeah, that's Tulane. I think they should be able to win this week. They're back in the top 25. Good for them. Number 24, UCLA, moving down 5 spots. They lost to Oregon State on the road. I predicted them losing this one. It's tough. I didn't feel like I needed to drop them out of the top 25, but yeah, I mean, tough game on the road against Oregon State. It's always going to be tough. They didn't. They looked like, I don't know. They didn't look too bad, but they didn't look really too good either. Oregon State jumped out to an early lead in the first quarter and kind of just never looked back really. UCLA made it interesting about halfway through the second quarter, but then Oregon State got some late scores in the second quarter to go up 13 heading into the second half, and then they opened up with a touchdown in the third quarter, and they it's kind of smooth sailing from there. DJU played a pretty good game. Dante Moore, 3 interceptions. That was the story of the turnovers for UCLA. That wasn't that kind of killed their momentum. They had more yards and more first downs than Oregon State, but the turnovers really killed them. They gotta clean that up. I believe Dante Moore is their backup, if I'm not mistaken. I might be making that up. I think their starting quarterback got injured, so he's been replacing it. I don't know if I'm making that up, but I feel like that's right. I feel like that's accurate. But yeah, it's tough loss. They got to figure out the turnovers. They probably could have won that game if it wasn't for the turnovers, but Oregon State gets a win. and then they're at Stanford this week. Stanford, a team that just beat Colorado in a hell of a comeback against Colorado. Um, Colorado's not looking too good. Travis Hunter just got outplayed on that catch in overtime. That was a crazy catch, but yeah, he I think he was just tired. I mean, coming off the injury, he wasn't conditioned for it. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Playing 100 and whatever snaps. So yeah, it's tough. So Stanford picked up a nice win, but I don't see them winning here against UCLA. It is at Stanford, so maybe that helps out a bit, but I have UCLA winning pretty big here. I think they clean up the turnovers. I don't think Stanford is really all that good of a team, so I don't see them forcing too many turnovers. I think they finish the drives this week. I think it's a big point of emphasis, and yeah, I think they win here against Stanford. Number 23, Iowa, back in the top 25. They were in the top 25 a little earlier in the week, and I was kind of last week looking for some teams that could make my top 25 because there was a lot of teams that kind of lower in the top 25 that I had losing. So I was kind of looking at some games, and I saw Iowa and Wisconsin, both two one-loss teams, with Iowa losing to Penn State, Wisconsin losing to Washington State. So two, uh, one loss is obviously better than the other. Washington State got blown out by Arizona this week. Arizona's probably the best three-loss team. They're actually pretty good. They've held it close. They almost beat USC in overtime, and then they held it very close with Washington. They're actually a pretty good team. If you really look at it, and they just absolutely dominated Washington State last week. Uh, so losing to Penn State's gonna look better than losing to Washington State, and Iowa's defense is just ridiculously good. And they dominated Wisconsin here, 15-6 in this one. Yeah, I was kind of looking at these teams, both one-loss Big Ten teams, and I kind of figured whoever would win, I would just put in the top 25 because, um, now Big Ten team, one loss. Both teams haven't. The losses aren't horrible, and they've been winning some games. But yeah, I moved Iowa up in here, 6-1. Their defense is always dominant, but the offense is, as always, struggles. They got Minnesota coming to town, projecting a 9-0 win. They not going to score too many points, but they're also going to give up probably less than 10. So yeah, whatever the under is, I'm kind of interested to see what the over under is. I don't know if it'll show me here. I'm gonna try and look really quick. I was favored by 3.5. The over under is 32.5. Wow. So yeah, I mean, I would probably go under, honestly. Um, yeah, I'll go Iowa 9-0. Minnesota's usually a pretty good team, but maybe it's like a rivalry. I don't know. I think Iowa. I think it'll be kind of close, but Iowa should win. Oh boy. So here's that other team, Air Force, number 22, and I'm actually pretty impressed with them. They moving up 4 spots. There was kind of 3 teams in my mind that could be that group of 5 team to make that New Year's Six Bowl. It was Air Force, Tulane, which we already talked about, and then this Wyoming team who has been pretty good. Their only loss coming to Texas by 3 points on the road. I don't know if it was 3 points, but I know it's tied heading into the fourth. Um, so I mean, Wyoming's a pretty good team. We could talk about them really quick. Yeah, Wyoming now, their second loss coming to Air Force. This was actually a fun game to watch. Wyoming's got some pretty good wins. They beat Texas Tech. They lost to Texas on the road, but it was close heading into that fourth quarter. Beat App State, a team who took North Carolina to overtime. Beat Fresno State, a team who was ranked at the time. Um, they've got some they got some pretty good wins on their resume. Wyoming's not a team to look over or look past. They're actually a pretty good team, but Air Force took them down. They were at home in this one, and they won against Wyoming in a very good game. Wyoming was up 14-0 early, and it was a very tightly contested game. It was a back and forth game, um, but Air Force ultimately came out on top in the end. They had two turnovers, Air Force, so that probably made the game a little bit closer than it should have been. I don't know if I want to say that just because both these teams are very good. But Air Force, I think right now is the favorite for the Group of Five team to make the New Year's Six Bowl. I'm actually very impressed with Air Force. They're looking to be a very formidable team. Coming up this week at Navy, a little Army, well, obviously not Army, a little military battle, I guess. Air Force against Navy. It's on the road. The triple option, maybe they get give maybe they struggle a little with the triple option, but I think they should be able to figure it out. Maybe it's close for a half, and then Air Force kind of figures it out. I'm going 30-17 for Air Force here. Louisville. Ooh, something. This is not something I was looking forward to talking about. Louisville, I was very excited. They were kind of like potentially that TCU this year, starting off unranked, kind of getting overlooked, and starting out 6-0, getting some big wins. Obviously beating Notre Dame a week prior to last week, but then at Pitt, that's just a tough one. You don't want to lose that game. Pitt's 2-4 now. Pitt's not a very very good team, and I said this last week. I was thinking after Louisville beat Notre Dame, maybe they could struggle coming off the big win. Um, and then I saw it was Pitt, and I was like, oh, they shouldn't have any troubles with Pitt because it's Pitt, and they haven't been good this year. And then they lost, and they were winning going into the half. I kind of thought, okay, they start out slow coming off the big win, heading into half. Hopefully they figure things out. They should be able to kind of run away with this game, but it was the exact opposite. Um, Pitt came out in the third quarter and scored 17 points in the third quarter, and then a late touchdown in the fourth to make it look like a little bit of a higher scoring or a more convincing win than it was. But yeah, I mean, man, it was tough. Louisville was a team I was rooting for. I feel like everyone was rooting for. They got the bye this week, so no game prediction. Home against Duke, that should be a good game. Two ranked teams, ACC. I'm not sure who I'm picking in this one yet. It'll kind of depend on how Duke plays this week. We'll get to that in a little bit. But yeah, this should be a pretty good game. I'm not quite sure who I'm going to take. But yeah, Louisville moving down 7, not a good loss. Coming off the big win. Yeah, I said they might struggle. I didn't expect this, though. So yeah, tough loss. Tough loss for them. Number 20, Tennessee moving up 1. They picked up a win against Texas A&M. This was a very close game. This is one of the only teams I'm not sure. Like, I'm not sure what they are, how good they are, how not good they are. This is kind of one of those teams I can't seem to figure out. Tennessee. It's like I wanna like them, and then they let me down. So I wanna not like them, but then they impress. So it's just like a constant cycle. Like I'm just not sure what to think. Um, yeah, but they won home against Texas A&M. It was kind of a really boring game to watch. I don't know if any of you watched it. Tennessee was uh, down 7-0 to start, but once they were losing going into half, but in the second half they were kind of in control for most of it. Um, they didn't look all that good, in all honesty. Um, it was really just defensive kind of game. Um, Tennessee scored on special teams with the punt return um, in the third quarter. They didn't really get much going on offense. Only one offensive touchdown. Um, Joe Milton, 100 yards, one touchdown, one pick. That's not what you want to see. The run game for Tennessee was there, so that's kind of the story there. Upcoming game at Alabama. This is a team that they beat last year, and Alabama's probably, well, I don't think this is any question. Alabama is worse this year than they were last year, but so is Tennessee, and Tennessee is a lot worse this year than they were last year. At one point, they were the number one ranked team last year. Um, at Alabama is always a hard place to play, and it's hard to bet against Saban to lose 2 games in a row. Alabama has been looking better as of recently. Jalen Milroe has been playing a lot better. They kind of figure out what they want to do, what team they want to be, what they kind of are. So all the signs are pointing towards Alabama. It's at home. It's hard not to take Alabama. I think it should be a close game, but I think Jalen Milroe's getting a lot better. And I don't really trust Joe Milton too much, so I'm going to take Alabama in this one. Should be a pretty good game, though. Missouri beat Kentucky. They dominated them in the second half specifically, but, I mean, they looked good throughout the whole game. I said heading into this week, whoever won this game would be ranked and the other one wouldn't. And, yeah, Missouri, very impressive win. They scored a touchdown late in the second quarter to take the lead heading into half, and then coming out the gates, they scored a field goal to start the third quarter. Kentucky actually scored a touchdown late in the third to take the lead, but in that fourth quarter, Missouri just put it on them. Kentucky didn't know what hit them. They are a team that once they get down, it's hard for them to come back. They rely heavily on Ray Davis in the run game. They don't really have much of a passing offense, and Missouri's a team who scores a lot of points. Their quarterback didn't play all that good this game, but they did win, and they did look pretty good doing it. Kentucky with 3 turnovers. I mean, yeah, Missouri picked up a nice win. I think so. Yeah, this week home against South Carolina. South Carolina 2-4, so kind of a disappointing start to the year. They've played some tough teams though. I mean, looking at their schedule, it's pretty brutal. I mean, their losses have come to Tennessee, Florida, Georgia, and North Carolina, 2 teams that are inside the top 10. Tennessee is another ranked team, and then Florida has been ranked, and Florida beat Tennessee. So South Carolina's had a gauntlet of a schedule, and they don't have anything easy coming up. They got Missouri on the road this week, Texas A&M on the road next week, and then Jacksonville State, Vanderbilt both should be wins. But then they got Kentucky and Clemson, so they probably have one of the toughest schedules in the country this year. South Carolina is not a bad team at all. The team that was leading Georgia 14-3 going into the half, who played North Carolina, top 10 team, close for most of the game, and then almost beat Florida last week. That was a pretty good game. High-scoring thriller. South Carolina probably should have won that game. But ultimately they didn't. Kind of blew it. South Carolina's not a bad team, but I think they play Missouri pretty close. Maybe Missouri, coming off a big win, kind of struggles a little, but they're at home, so it's kind of hard to say that. It's a little more chance of that happening when you're on the road, coming off a big win. I think they play close, but I think Missouri should be able to win this one. Number 18, LSU moving up forward. I wasn't really I guess I was impressed, but this is not like a huge jump just because I feel like I just had them a little too low, and teams ahead of them lost. That's kind of the situation here. So not much to talk about. Auburn's not a very good team. LSU offense looked good, defense looked okay. More just Auburn's offense is not good. Um, Playing against Army, a team with the triple option, I don't see them. Maybe they struggle a little on D, but on the offensive side of the ball, they should have no problems. They're at home. Not too worried here for LSU. Number 17 Duke coming off a pretty nice win against NC State, 24-3. They looked pretty good. And now this week they play Florida State on the road. This is a tough one for Duke. Obviously, um, they had Notre Dame a couple weeks ago, who they probably should have beaten. They played better, in my opinion. Notre Dame scored that late touchdown. Um, but yeah, I mean, uh, but at Florida State, that's a top. We'll get to them what I have them, but according to the eight people, that's the top 14. They're saying that's a playoff team right as of right now. Florida State's favored by 14. I think that's a little bit high. I don't think it's that. If this was at Duke, it might be a different story. Duke beat Clemson at home, and they almost beat Notre Dame at home. Duke's got some tough games coming up. They got Louisville next week, and then they still have at North Carolina later down the road. At Florida State's going to be tough. Obviously, Florida State's a very good team. I just don't see a world where Duke wins this. Unfortunately, I love Duke. It's kind of funny that how like they are actually a pretty good team this year in football wise. Um, but I can't go against Florida State. I'm gonna go 33-23. I think. I feel like Florida State's gonna have control of this game for the majority of it. It's just hard. It's on the road. I mean, it's hard not to take Florida State here. They've been looking like a very solid team, definitely a playoff contender. But I mean, I wouldn't put it past Duke to win this game. Me personally, I don't see it. I think Florida State wins this one, 33-23. USC moving down 6 spots, number 16 now in my rankings, and this is something to talk about because what killed them in this game wasn't their defense. Now you're gonna say, well, they got 48 scored on them. How's that not their defense? And I'm gonna answer the question. The reason they lost this game was their offense, their execution of their offense, and the turnovers. The turnovers were kind of the main point. Caleb Williams did not look good. The offense looked bad, really, which you really haven't seen from a Lincoln Riley led team or Caleb Williams led team actually. I mean, yeah, they just looked bad. The offense, and they gave Notre Dame so many chances off turnovers. I think Notre Dame scored 28 points off turnovers. I think that's what I saw. Um, I mean, yeah, it wasn't pretty at all. Notre Dame just blew the brakes off of them. At one point they were up 24-3, and then obviously won by 28. I mean, it was just the USC offense. Caleb Williams 3 interceptions, and Notre Dame just right from the get go they just had the game. It was like it wasn't even the opening drive. They score a touchdown. The USC offense doesn't get anything going in the first quarter. They get a field goal, but then the second quarter was really where it just fell apart. USC had 5 turnovers. Um, yeah, I mean, I did not expect, like, I was thinking, this game is going to be it's going to be a low scoring game. Notre Dame's going to slow down the game. They're going to run the ball with Estime. They're going to control the time of possession. They're going to keep the USC offense off the field, and they're going to just score when they need to score, because I don't see USC's defense really being able to stop them. But USC's defense did stop them, and when you gave Notre Dame the ball on their own 20, when you made them say you have to go 80 yards to get the touchdown, they really didn't do that this game. They got the ball on the other side of the 50, I think 4 times off turnovers. So, and the fifth time wasn't good field position too. It wasn't like super far off the 50 either. So that was kind of the story here. Notre Dame, just absolute domination. I did pick Notre Dame to win, but it's not what I expected at all. Now they get a game against Utah, and honestly, Utah presents kind of the same issues that Notre Dame does. They have a dominant defense. They can create turnovers. They're a scrappy team. They're going to dominate the line of scrimmage. That's what happened against Notre Dame, and USC got punished for that. Notre Dame had 11 TFLs and a bunch of sacks, too. Caleb Williams was under pressure. He didn't know what was happening. He couldn't get anything going. He was just constantly under duress, and Utah presents kind of the same issues. Now, if this was at Utah, I'm telling you right now, I'd pick Utah. It's a little different that it's at USC in the Coliseum. That is actually a huge advantage for USC. If this was at Utah, I guarantee I would pick Utah. And I mean, I can still see Utah winning this game. It's just, I've never been high in USC to start, like, at all throughout the year. Everyone kind of has been. I've not been too big of a fan of them. I think I've had them, the highest I've had them is, I don't know, maybe 8, 7. I don't really remember, but I got them at 16. And obviously it's higher than the AP poll, but I mean, a lot of people have been telling me how USC is going to win the Pac-12, make the playoffs. I never really saw that. I didn't see them winning the Pac-12. I wasn't even sure if I saw them making the conference championship game. But anyways, back to this coming game. Yeah, Utah presents the same problems. The only difference, and the reason I'm taking USC in this, is I can't trust Utah's offense. I can't trust Nate Johnson. Even if Cam Rising does play, and we don't know what's going on with him, he might not even play the rest of the year. He might just do that so he can play next year. We don't know what we're getting. If we're getting Cam Rising, I'm assuming not, because I've been saying this every week, essentially for Utah. But the difference between Notre Dame is I can't trust Utah's quarterback to make those plays, and I feel like USC can create turnovers. Now, if Utah, I don't know what Utah's running game really looks like. I should probably look at that really quick. Because if Utah has a good running game, then that changes a lot. So last game they had a guy who rushed for 158 yards, so maybe that changes what I'm thinking for this game. Because this makes it a little tougher now, because I didn't know that Utah had such a good run game. They kind of have like a committee. They have 3 guys, they have 3 running backs over 150 yards. One of them plays safety. He has 1 interception, 32 tackles, but he also has 150 or 164 rushing yards on the season. But I mean, yeah, Nate Johnson's not very good. That's kind of the problem. Actually, I'm just gonna flip the score. Actually, no, I'm gonna go 28-24 Utah. I'm doing a little switch. I'm taking Utah to win. I don't know. Like I said, they prevent this. propose the same problems that they had against Notre Dame. And as much as I can't trust Nate Johnson, I don't trust USC. And their defense played good last week, but I don't know if it can play good 2 weeks in a row. They haven't been good at all this year. They're so I mean, the so-called best college or the so-called best offense in college football hasn't, when you look at it, really, the past couple of games, they haven't been looking good either. So I'm going to take USC 28-24. Or I'm going to take Utah, sorry, 28-24. And yeah, speaking of Utah, they got a nice win against Cal. And yeah, you just heard my prediction. I switched it, obviously. Taking Utah 28-24. Number 14, Ole Miss moving down to, not really, they didn't do anything. They were off the bye. I just kind of wanted to move them down just because I wanted to get some teams ahead of them. At Auburn, I don't see them struggling at all. It is at Auburn, so it's a little tough place to play a little bit, I guess, but honestly, I'm not too worried for them there. And we kind of talked about the USC game for Notre Dame. I moved them up 3. I did have them probably a little too high last week, so it doesn't look like they had a big jump, but up at 13 now. Pretty big. I mean, 16 and 13, it's only 3 difference, but if you're, I don't know, I feel like it's a big difference just like looking at the number. I don't know if that makes any sense, but home against Pitt. Pitt is a team who just beat Louisville, and Louisville beat Notre Dame. Um, Now, I'm not going to give a prediction because they're on the bye this week, but maybe that's an interesting one to look at. I don't know. Probably not, though. Number 12, Oregon State moving up 3. They got a nice win against UCLA. And I kind of debated whether I'd put Notre Dame or Oregon State here. I went with Oregon State just because I had them ahead of them last week, and maybe I had Notre Dame a little bit too high last week, so I just kept Oregon State here. And they obviously got a nice win against UCLA. Now they go on the road at Arizona. Now Arizona's probably the best 3-loss team. They are a very scary opponent to play. They just dominated Washington State, a team who I believe Oregon State lost to, but I might have it mixed up with someone else. No, Washington State. Yeah, Washington State beat Oregon State, and yeah, Oregon State is now playing a team that beat Washington State. Arizona's a very good team. Oregon State only has a 59% chance to win this one. There's no line for this game yet. Yeah, Arizona's a very scary team. They're a team that will put you on upset alert for sure. They probably should be 5-2. In all honesty, well, honestly, they should probably be 6-1. They should have beat USC. They should have beat Mississippi State in week 2, but it was early in the year. Um, and obviously they stuck with Washington. They kind of stuck around for longer than Washington would have liked. Um, they're a scary team, and now Oregon State has to travel to them. The lucky thing for Oregon State is coming off the big win. They have the bye this week, so there's going to be no prediction. Um, yeah, Oregon State's going to get some time to prepare for this team, so we'll get to that next week on my prediction there. Number 11, Alabama. Jalen Milroe made some pretty big plays home against Arkansas. Now, honestly, should they be struggling this much against Arkansas? No, but Arkansas kind of made the game late. Alabama kind of had control for most of it. Arkansas made it a game in the fourth quarter. Alabama was up pretty big the whole game, except for the first quarter, I guess. But second and third quarters, Alabama pretty much dominated. Jalen Milroe played pretty good, 238 yards, 2 touchdowns. I don't know what he had on the ground. We'll look at that real quick. negative 19 yards, so he probably took some sacks. I don't know how many sacks Arkansas ended up with. Um, but but yeah, I don't know what KJ Jefferson. He didn't. So okay, I don't see any. There weren't any turnovers in this game, so pretty good game. But Alabama pretty much dominated. 415 total yards to Arkansas's 250. Um, Milrow made some big plays, and I'm starting to trust them a little more. I'm starting to come back around on Alabama. I'm gonna take them to beat Tennessee, rivalry game, but they get it at home, and I'm starting to trust Milrow a little more. He's been making some plays. He's been getting a lot better, so I'm gonna take Alabama by 3 in this one. Number 10, moving up 3 spots, North Carolina. They got a big win against Miami this week. Heading into halftime losing, they came out in the second half and dominated this game. Um, they forced some turnovers. They Miami had 4 turnovers, so Miami really again lost the game for themselves. They shouldn't have lost last week, obviously, with the kneeling situation against Georgia Tech. But Miami, I mean, they head into the half with the lead, and then North Carolina comes out in the third quarter, scores 3 touchdowns in the third quarter, and Miami doesn't get anything going on offense. So it goes from 17-14 to 35-17 really quick. UNC adds on a field goal early in the fourth quarter, and they're up 21. Miami really couldn't get anything, um, couldn't get like any ground back after that. They end up losing by 10, so they make it a little closer. But they had 2 touchdowns in the fourth, one late in the fourth when it didn't matter. So they change it from a 17-point loss to a 10-point loss. They make it look a little better than it was. It was on the road. I picked North Carolina to win. But yeah, this is another team I'm starting to come around on. I think North Carolina is going to make this ACC race a lot more interesting. Kind of a 4-team race here. I think North Carolina definitely has a chance to win the conference, and they could. I mean, if they win the conference, they'll be a playoff team potentially. I mean, if you're undefeated ACC champ, it's hard to not take you. So yeah, North Carolina is looking pretty good. This week against Virginia, I don't see them struggling at all. They're at home. Virginia's not a good team. Give me North Carolina big. Texas doesn't move coming off the bye. They get some time to regroup after the unfortunate, heartbreaking loss against Oklahoma. Now they go on the road at Houston. I don't see them having any problems here. They got extra time to prepare. Shouldn't be too many problems for them there. And this is the last big game we need to talk about. Oregon and Washington. So obviously a back and forth game. Um, Probably the best game of the year, in my opinion. Um, yeah, Washington. I mean, it was just a back and. I mean, this was exactly what you wanted to see. And I just want to point out my score prediction was Washington 37, Oregon 34. So I was pretty much on the dot with this. Um, but yeah, I mean, this is everything you want to see. 2 Heisman level quarterbacks just going at it. Um, Start off with Washington opening drive touchdown. Oregon follows it up with a touchdown. They go for 2 and they get the lead 8-7. Washington comes back, scores a touchdown to make it 14-8, and then Oregon with a quick score to go up 15-14. Then later in the second quarter, Washington takes the lead again, gets the 2-point conversion to go up 22-15. Oregon gets a late field goal in the second quarter to make it a 4-point game heading into half. Washington comes out the half with a big touchdown to start the third quarter, and I was thinking, in this moment, I was thinking, is Washington about to come out here in the second half and just run away with the game? Because at this point, it was an 11-point game. Washington just stole all of Oregon's momentum that they had, even if they had any in the first place. I don't know if you would say they did. And yeah, Washington just took all the momentum away. But then Oregon um, comes back later in the third quarter. I believe they got stopped. Um, I believe they got stopped at some point in the third quarter. Maybe I'm no, they did. This might have been where Penix threw the interception. I'm trying to remember. No, it wasn't. So yeah, Oregon forces a punt. I mean, when Washington got the ball back in the third quarter, when they were up 11, I thought they were about to go down and score, and the game would just be over, and Washington was going to come out there and blow them out. Because if Washington did that, it was going to be hard for me not to have them as a top three team at least. Um, I mean, I would have to jump them ahead of Ohio State and maybe consider jumping them ahead of Georgia also. Maybe even I mean, that would have been if Washington came out here and blew out Oregon. That would have been um, pretty wild because Oregon has been one of the best teams in the country to start the year. But Oregon forces a punt. They show some resilience and they score a touchdown, get the 2 point to make it a 3 point game. Then they get the ball back to start the fourth quarter, and they score another touchdown. Now they're at 4, and they just took all the momentum Washington had and just flipped it around. And now Oregon just, I mean, they had the lead for the majority of the fourth quarter, and Washington obviously with the late touchdown. Now, the thing everyone's going to want to talk about is Oregon's decision to go for it on 4th and 3 at the 50-yard line to end the game right then and there. I'm going to say right now I agree with the call. I mean, Michael Penix is probably the front runner for Heisman. Do you want to give him the ball? Do you want to just give him an opportunity to win the game? I mean, I wouldn't. Now you could argue that Oregon's defense has been playing good in the second half. Maybe they could get a stop, but I would much rather try and get 3 yards and end the game right then and there, and then potentially get the ball back if Washington did score. So I agree with the call. Washington ends up winning. They get a nice defensive stand there after they scored the touchdown against Oregon with about a minute and a half left. And now, this week, they're home against Washington State. Maybe they come out and struggle a little because Washington State could present some problems maybe after the physical, heartbreaking loss. Maybe they struggle a little against Washington State. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I got 40-27. It's hard for me not to pick Oregon. The reason I didn't drop them at all is if this was at Oregon, I think Oregon would have won. Oregon outplayed Washington for most of the majority of the second half, and well, maybe not the second half, for about the second half of the third quarter, and most of the fourth quarter too. I mean, yeah, it was just a back and forth game. So, but I mean, if this was at Oregon, it probably would have went the other way. Two very good teams, played a very good game, both of them. So I didn't drop Oregon. They're staying at 8, and I have them winning against Washington State. Now, that was kind of the end of the games we need to recap. Now we talk about the big one this week, Penn State. I'm not even going to talk about Massachusetts. You played against UMass. You should win 63-0. Moving on. And it was at home, too. Moving on. Anyways, so they kind of get an easy one. They're heading into Ohio State. They go into Columbus to play Ohio State. Now I'm just gonna show you the score what I have for this game. Right now I have Ohio State winning 27-21. I think this is a defensive battle. I think hopefully Ohio State gets Travion Henderson, gets Abuka back for this game. I think Abuka probably could have played last week. They just didn't want to risk anything, and they wanted him to be ready for this game. Travion Henderson, I'm not sure of. I hope he's coming back. We'll get some more of Ohio State later. But Penn State, this is a tough one. You really haven't been tested yet this year. I guess you could say Iowa, but I mean, Iowa's not the best team. I mean, I'm not saying they're a bad team at all, but if you want to say they were tested, because Iowa's offense can't do anything, so it's how much of a tested if it how much of a test is it if you're only getting tested on one side of the ball? You know, I got Ohio State winning. I think Ohio State's weapons on offense are just a little too much. I think Ohio State's defense is very good. I think they should be able to limit Drew Aller. Drew Aller really hasn't played a big game yet against Penn State. This will be his first true road test, true road environment, and I think he's going to come out and struggle a little. Kyle McCord's already been tested this year on the road against Notre Dame in a night game, so you know Ohio State's going to sell out this game. So Drew Aller's going to, I think he's going to have some problems. I think Ohio State defense should be able to force some turnovers. I think they make, I don't know, I feel like this is one, in all honesty, I'm like not super concerned Ohio State loses this. I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm underrating Penn State a little, but I'm just not overall that concerned for this one. I don't know what it is. I just feel like the matchup's there for Ohio State, and Drew Aller hasn't been tested. This is his first true road environment, Big Ten road environment in the shoe. Ohio State's gonna, I mean, everyone's gonna wear scarlet. I guess that's what they're doing. It is a noon game, so I don't know if that means anything. If it was a night game, I would feel probably more confident about Ohio State than I am, but I already am pretty confident for Ohio State in this one. I mean, Ohio State 27-21. Number 6, Oklahoma. Moving down to, this is not that they did anything wrong. I think I just overreacted a little coming off the Texas win. I felt like I needed to move 2 teams ahead of them that I originally had behind them. Coming off the bye. Yeah, again, they didn't do anything wrong. I just had them a little too high. I think they handle business against UCF. Number 5, Florida State. They took care of business at home against Syracuse, and we already talked about this game. I just don't see a world where Florida State loses this one home against Duke. I think they just outmatch them pretty much everywhere, and they're at home too. Kind of hard for me to pick against them. We talked about the Washington-Oregon game already as well. Washington, the very nice win against Oregon. They're moving up too. Now they're number 4. They are a very good team. They probably are the favorite to win the Pac-12 as of right now. I mean, they're the only undefeated team left in the Pac-12. So, they were my pick to win the Pac-12 in the preseason. So, yeah, they're a very good team. Home against Arizona State, they should have no problems. Maybe coming off the big win, but, and I said this, that's kind of more coming off the big win and you're on the road. They're not on the road. I don't see them struggling. Number 3, Ohio State. They looked very good against Purdue, a game that was in ugly weather. Ohio State was without a majority of their offensive weapons in Travion Henderson and Abuka. They dominated Purdue 41-7. Very, very impressed, honestly. I was kind of waiting for the offense to really show. We've seen the defense, but I was kind of waiting for the offense to show out, and they were up 34-0. They kind of just laid off in the fourth quarter. Kyle McCord, 276 yards, 3 passing touchdowns. Marvin Harrison, 100 yards and a touchdown. Devin Brown came in and threw a touchdown pass for 58 yards. Um, yeah, but Ohio State was without, they were without a lot of guys. Travion Henderson, Mayan Williams, Dallin Hayden was starting running back for them. Um, yeah, they were without a lot of guys. Brandon Innes scored his first touchdown. He's looking very promising. One reception, 58 yards and a touchdown. He is kind of the next great Ohio State receiver in my opinion. They definitely have some recruits coming. They have the number one overall recruit next year in Jeremiah Smith at wide receiver, and then they have another five-star receiver coming, and then another four-star receiver coming in. So they are, with Marvin Harrison and Ibuka going to the draft, they should be all right. They also have Carnell Tate as well. I don't know if Fleming's going to stay, but, they got a lot of guys, so not worried about them. And I think they beat Penn State here. I think the trench play is pretty even. I think the Penn State D-line should. I think if Ohio State's, that might be if Penn State can pressure Kyle McCord, and if Penn State can get pressure on Kyle McCord, because the Ohio State offensive line hasn't been good to start the year, that could create some problems because Kyle McCord, although Ohio State's offensive line didn't play horrible against Northwestern, so I don't know. We'll see. I think Ohio State should be able to win. I got 27-21 in that one. Number 2, Georgia. They pretty much dominated Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt tried to make it a game late. They potentially had a chance to make it a one-score game in the fourth quarter, but they didn't get the two-point conversion, so that kind of sealed the deal. Upcoming game, they're at Florida, but I think they're on bye this week, if I'm not mistaken. So this is my bad. I shouldn't have a score prediction. Whoopsie daisy. So just pretend that says 0-0. Yeah, number 1, Michigan. They've been number 1 all year. They are going to continue to be number 1. Again, they haven't played anyone, so maybe that's concerned, but they just look so good, so dominant. 52-7 against Indiana. They were losing at the end of the first quarter, but, it's not always going to be pretty early. They're not going to change up anything. They're just going to stick to what they know. They're going to start slow, and then once they get going, they're just not going to stop. So, now their upcoming game at Michigan State, it's on the road. It's a night game, a rivalry game. There's points where I'm thinking this could be interesting. I don't think there's any chance Michigan State wins, but this could definitely be an interesting game just because it's on the road. It's a rivalry game. Michigan hasn't been tested yet, so, and I'm not saying Michigan State is a good team, because they're not, but this will kind of be a little bit of a test, maybe their first test. They really aren't tested until Penn State, Maryland, Ohio State, the last 3 weeks of the year for them. It's crazy that we're already in week 8 of college football. It's been going very fast. That's actually wild. We're already 2/3 of the way done with the regular season. That's weird to think about. But anyways, I'm going to say Michigan doesn't struggle. 38-7. There's part of me where I feel like Michigan State could maybe make this interesting, but again, Michigan State's been potentially the worst team in the Big Ten East, maybe the worst team in the Big Ten this year. That might be a little bit of a stretch, but I don't know. Illinois just beat Maryland. Is Michigan State all that much better than Purdue, Nebraska, Minnesota, Northwestern? I don't know. The West is obviously garbage, but Michigan State's not better than Michigan. They're not better than Ohio State. They're not better than Penn State. They're not better than Maryland. They're not better than Rutgers. Are they better? If they are better than Indiana, are they that much better? No. Michigan just blew out Indiana. They're not better than Iowa. They're not better than Wisconsin. And then those bottom five teams in the West, they're pretty even with all of them. Um, so yeah, I don't think Michigan struggles. I do have them 38-7, but that's not a struggle. They were winning by 31. Um, Obviously, it's not a 52-7 like they did last week, but it's a pretty big margin still. So give me Michigan, obviously, in that one. But yeah, that's gonna do it for the video this week. Hope you enjoyed my Week 8 Top 25 college football rankings. Again, if you did enjoy, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new, turn on that notification bell to make sure you don't miss any uploads. We do college football videos every Monday night, NFL videos every Wednesday night. It's gonna be Tuesday, so tomorrow night this week, just cause I got some things to do Wednesday night. Um, so I won't be able to record Wednesday night. And then we do MLB videos sometime over the weekend every week, usually Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. But since the playoffs are coming, I haven't made one since my playoff predictions. Let me know if you want me to do a World Series preview or something like that. As always, my X and Discord are linked in the description. You can follow that. You can join that. Whatever you like to do. If you join the Discord, you'll have you can appear in videos if you want to. I mean, it's always more fun to have people to talk to. So, if you want to be, I mean, anything, college football, NFL, college basketball, NBA, MLB, I'd always love to have another person to talk to. So I'm open to doing that. So if you want to join this Discord, interested in that, you can do that. But yeah, thank you guys for the recent support. I really appreciate it. Um, and yeah, that's gonna do it. So we'll see you guys tomorrow night with our NFL picks video. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Thank you for watching.